if somebody asks a question, could you please stand and make it so everybody can hear you?
And I'll be happy to repeat it. I'll be happy. It sounded more like a statement than a question. But I'm glad to see that. In fact, one of the things I was told many times by some of the administrators that actually like what I'm saying, that recognize that they will benefit from getting a shot at voucher money first, because if it goes into the school, it's less likely that you throw teachers under the bus. They recognize that, you know, the kids actually really like you. And part of the reason is I just tell them the truth. You know, they're not happy. You know, I'll look at these kids rolling into the classroom, and they've got $56,000 of debts, and they don't even have jobs. Yes, sir.
You said that you basically like to eliminate the property tax.
Absolutely.
I would love my property tax to be eliminated. However, if you eliminate the tax there, they're going to get it somewhere else. Where do you propose that they get that money?
The best question on the planet. And not only when I saw the Gaskins, I also saw the fair tax signs. And I am a firm believer that if you are going to tax people, you should do it in a manner that grants the individual the greatest amount of liberty. And the way, well, let me say this. The one tax that gives you the greatest amount of liberty is a voluntary tax, would be a lottery, which everybody knows is a tax on people who can't do math. But you know, you build things like the Erie Canal, and many of your Ivy League schools in the north were built on lottery money. But that said, you know, the beauty of that system was that, you know, if you participated in the lottery, you would get a canal, even if you lost. If you won, you got a canal, and you won. That was a beautiful system, but it certainly can't address everything. The next best thing is a consumption-based tax. And the beauty of a consumption-based tax is pretty straightforward. I get to choose. Do I recycle, reuse, repair, whatever these items are, without paying the tax that I have? You know, and I get the choice of also being able to decide, do I buy a Nissan? Do I buy a Ford truck? Or do I buy something that is produced by BMW and pay a tremendous amount on it? So given the fact that it has so many advantages and you get to make a choice, yes or no, yes or no, yes or no, decide for yourself, do I want to contribute these monies to the schools, to the local bureaucracy? Every time we look at that, it looks like a benefit to me. I will always err to liberty. Ladies and gentlemen, you've heard me introduced as Timothy Moultrie. If you've been listening to WVOC for years, you probably knew me years ago at the John Risley show as Teacher Timothy. This is not new for me. I've been walking this walk and talking this talk for a lot of years, and I'm just glad to see people start to go, aha, maybe this will actually work, and it will, but we have to give it a chance. I thought I saw another hand. Yes, sir.
The NEA has listed on its website, I suggest you read it with children, Saul Alinsky's Rules for Radicals. And if you're aware of that.
I'm sorry, I just don't spend a lot of time with the NEA.
Well, one of the things that I'd like to see myself is committees formed and find out really what the hell are they teaching our children.
Francis,
Well,
you can't say bad words in the church.
That's not a bad word. God understands better than anybody else.
I'm using it in that context.
I understand.
I think, honestly, you know, because again, I'm going to err towards liberty. It doesn't mean that I'm going to like somebody's exercise of their own liberty, and I certainly believe that anybody has the right, like you, to join a voluntary organization. So, you know, there's going to be people out there that are really upset with you because you're Tea Partiers, and there are going to be people that are very upset with teachers because they choose to join the NEA. I choose to opt out of that. I am a member of the Palmetto Teachers Association, which is voluntary, and it does not propose, you know, reading lists of that nature. Again, this is going to be something that you would get to see by posting policies online. Right now, those policies are hidden. For instance, and many of you probably have a child or a grandchild. I hope I didn't offend anybody by saying grandchild, but I have grandchildren, so maybe I'll put us all in the same boat there. The reality is that many of the policies would absolutely make your jaw drop. For instance, the grading policy in Richland District 1, this is the flagship district of the state, is as follows. I, as a teacher, cannot assign a grade lower than 60. Now that might come across as astonishing, but think about this. In the real world, what does that teach our children? In the real world, what that says is you could do nothing and they will send you 60% of your salary. Try that at work. How long is that going to work? And then we scratch ourselves on the head and we say, well, why is it that these kids qualify for A, honor roll, B, honor roll, principal's list, life scholarship, and flunk out their first years of college, which you two are subsidizing? You are paying for this. So there's a, ladies and gentlemen, honesty costs you nothing. Nothing. And we are paying for the nose for policies that are deceit. And at one point in time or another, you will not hear the other candidates tell you these things because it's unpleasant and because what they're trying to do is curry favor with the establishment that they hope to run. I'm hoping to run the establishment into the ground. There's a very, very big difference. Yes, sir.
All of the things that you propose are all basically economic in nature. What philosophical or curricular changes would you make to the very education system itself?
Again, this is not something that I think an individual should dictate. That's much of the problem that we're running into now. I'm not, for instance, going to dictate to you what you should eat this evening. You might choose to have a hamburger and that's going to run your cholesterol through the roof, but it might be exactly what you need at this point. I think what we need to do as a culture is recognize that freedom, liberty is a tangible. Liberty benefits us all. Some things are going to work for some children. I cannot say this child is going to go to college. Ladies and gentlemen, look at the parameters and look at the trends that we have had. You had a Republican several years back, and what we had was Goals 2000. Goals 2000 worked so well that they followed it up with No Child Left Behind. The presumption was we're going to send all these children to college. That doesn't work. That doesn't compute. And we need to recognize that some children need other options. We have to access those options. And for you, it may be a homeschool. For somebody else, it may be a church school. For somebody else, it may be, my child is brilliant and he loves physics. And there just so happens to be a retired physicist that lives down the road. Why not have him tutored? These are options. This is the tangibility that I'm talking about, the reality. If you're looking to have someone dictate it, then you're looking at the wrong person. I'm not going to do that. I don't think it's appropriate. I think what is appropriate for the role of superintendent of education is to distribute information and to be absolutely as fair as possible and be an unbiased arbiter when you say, these are options that you can exercise. Now, I do not feel comfortable at all choosing for someone else what they should do. I do not think that's appropriate. Yes, ma'am.
You may not think you can choose what they have, but what about the national programs, sex education that we've heard about that's going into some schools from kindergarten on up? As a state superintendent, would you be able to fight that?
Not really. And I think it's, again, a lot of times you're going to get an idea that someone is going to be able to, I don't want to make a promise that I cannot keep. One thing I will not do is lie to you. And that's one of the things that, I'm a big fan of H.L. Mencken, the Pulitzer Prize writer. He said that the people that the American people glorify the most are the greatest liars. And the ones that they detest most vehemently are the men who try to tell them the truth. The reality is we have 85 school districts, and those 85 school districts have a great deal of authority within the parameters of that district. I could not dictate it to a district. What I can do, and these are things that I can do, and that is post those policies. And that gives people, how many school board meetings have you had the opportunity to go to? You probably don't even know when they meet. But if you can do it when you were younger. But you're still paying for them today. Right, and that's one of the things that I'm trying to get people to understand is the availability of information. This is a free society. We've got what's supposed to be a free society. If we are going to free it up and have the benefit of that freedom, we've got to have information. And what I propose to do is stick it out in front of people. I cannot, for living in Lexington County, dictate to Horry County what their policies will be, but I can certainly post all those policies online so that people in Horry County can say, we don't like this. Because right now, I'm absolutely certain they're operating in the dark. Absolutely certain.
May I follow up?
Yes, ma'am.
You hear, though, from the local school boards, we have to do these things because it's mandated from the national government.
Right.
I have heard that today. So
Right, and
ways.
for instance, No Child Left Behind is an ideal example of that. One of the things that really frustrates me is you have someone who is terribly disruptive in a classroom, and you can't get rid of him because he's been identified as having a particular deficit of one sort or another. And that becomes a game in and of itself. How can I have my child identified so that someone else is responsible for his poor behavior? We as a people need to decide whether or not the carrot that the federal government offers us, which is basically giving us our money back, is worth the stick that they beat us with. And I'm not afraid to say, I don't think we need to keep the money. I absolutely, even as a libertarian, absolutely applaud Governor Sanders when he said, wait, if you're going to send this money here, we need to pay down the debt first. And when those idiots at the General Assembly spent that money rather than paying down the debt, well, what's the first thing that happened? They did not throw bureaucrats under the bus. They started throwing teachers. And I want to give everybody fair warning, ladies and gentlemen, this economy is not getting any better. This is something that years ago, I decided, made a decision, an actual decision with my wife, that we were going to move out of the country where we could grow food, where we could stand on our own, where we could do these things that we had to do because it was not getting any prettier. And that was many, many years ago. So we've been standing on our own for quite some time. But the reality is that as the economy sinks deeper, the existing bureaucracy is going to look for new sources of money, and you're living in their source of money. So we do not change it quickly. You know, you think that the foreclosure crisis was bad. Excuse my poor English, but you ain't seen nothing yet. Now, if I do not get elected, please think about what I'm telling you right now, because a libertarian is going to tell you the truth. And let me give you the reason why. I sign a pledge that says I will not engage in force or fraud to achieve a social or political goal. Now, if I got elected and lied my way into office, would I still be in office? Sure, that's true. But the Libertarian Party polices itself. It will throw somebody out because if I lie to you, that's fraud. I've told you what I can do, and I'm not going to sugarcoat something I can't. So I want to tell you the truth. I want you to be aware of the information, and I do not believe anybody deserves to be deceived. And unfortunately, it is state policy to deceive people.
Just one more question.
Would you tell us what your financial background is, or your experience in overseeing a large budget?
None. On that note, I do have a fine and keen appreciation of the high concept of subtraction. You cannot spend money you do not have. And this is what they've been doing from Washington all the way